crooked here. But good morning, everybody. How we doing? So I'm doing something that's a little risky today. It could be risky. Gonna try the California Delta again. Last couple trips here, well, it was actually the tournament. Very tough, very stingy weekend of fishing, not just for me, but for the entire field. Really, everyone that fished the California Delta that weekend. Number, size, everything was tough to catch, and it left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. But it's about a week and a half later. Gonna give it another shot. And I'm optimistic today because, man, we're just getting out of winter. Spring is fastly approaching. I mean, shoot, right now it's 9:30 in the morning and it's already 57 degrees. The sun is shining. A lot of these Delta bass should really be waking up, and spring is fast approaching. These fish need to get ready to do their thing, get up shallow, get ready for the spawn, feed up. So I feel like today is a good day to give it another shot, give it a whirl, see what they're doing. I'd imagine this water temp is probably in the mid 50s, and that's the temperature that I typically really like the Delta. Late winter, early spring. I think that's just a trigger for a lot of the fish in the system to start really getting active, getting out of their winter slumber. But all that said, you can say everything that should work based on history, based on the moon, the weather, the water temp, all those factors, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to catch them. But I thought today would be a good day to experiment, to give it a try. I'm going to regret this. I know I'm going to regret this, but I'm just going to do it. We're going to weigh our best 5 bass today and possibly another day. If it's tough, we might spend another day out here, maybe tomorrow, try another launch, different area of the Delta fishing. But yes, I'm going to weigh our best 5 keeper bass. And remember, the last 2 trips out, which was the tournament weekend, I caught 5 keepers all weekend. 16 hours, 5 keepers. So it was extremely tough. So I'm a lot more optimistic today. Weather is looking beautiful. So without further ado, we're about 3 minutes from the launch. Whoop. Sorry about that. We're about 3 minutes from the launch. Get the kayak ready, dipper in the water, and we'll see what happens out on the California Delta. Alright guys, let's just get started. Just about 10 a.m. on the water. Clarity's pretty stained still. Not chocolate milk, but I'd say about a foot and a half maybe. Water temp is 55.3. I like that. And I bet you by the end of the day we get up to 56, 57. Well, see what we can do today. The goal is the limit, 5 keepers. Gonna explore these backwaters, kind of by this marina back here, see if anybody's pulled up. Usually I'd start with something moving, but man, the way they've been acting lately, I feel like I gotta give like a weightless worm or some finesse more of a chance. I hardly threw that during the tournament. Those fish were just shut down though. Their mood was completely shut off. I always gotta give the worm a fair try. We got the frog back there. You hope with kind of these warm days, there's some males rooting around shallow, and they get maybe a little protective and aggressive of where their location is, and the frog sometimes can be a perfect trigger for them to bite. And I'll tell you what, if anything else, it feels like a spring day out here. It feels good. Anything is possible. Oh my god. First cast. You landed on your head, buddy. That's a keeper. Man, he's hot. Probably one of those little males up shallow. I'm gonna weigh him, because 5 could be tough today. Oh yeah, you're 12. You're gonna make the team. That's kind of what happened last time we were out. Getting bites on the slobberknocker on day 2, but I had to make a million casts and just land on one. He's hot, he's hot. Why is he so hot, dude? 143. Man, skunk out of the boat already? Take it. Up there in the shallows. It ain't very deep up there. That one hit it as soon as it landed, and you can see it right here. They're in 1.5 feet of water. A shallow fish. said, won't be shy to throw the frog today either. I mean, shoot, that fish is that shallow, 1.5 feet of water. I mean, what if I threw the frog right on top of that fish? Would he evade it? Maybe. In the island on the fall. No, that was a good one too. Son of a gun, that was a good one. A 3-4 pounder right there. Wasn't ready for him. All right, another bite on the slobberknocker. Way up shallow too. I think that was either on the fall or after the first couple of cranks. Oh, I like it though. Good sign. Not a whole ton of bites, obviously, so far for the amount of casts we've made. It's not like it's on fire, but definitely a lot better than the last time we were out, so it seems. I don't have it, but I wish I had it, and not to say it would work, but right now I just wish I had like a buzzbait. Throw up in between these tule islands and these clumps. I mean, there's clearly fish up there. I wonder if I could get a few to react to a buzzbait. I mean, it's 56-degree water temp. If they're that shallow and they're eating, why not, right? Yeah, that fish we lost was probably in about 1.5 feet. See the graph right here, and even the map, the shallow slough. Got the main channel to my left about 50 feet, and everything else is real shallow. They're on the islands. There we go. Man, you guys are acrobatic. Super acrobatic today. There we go. They're hot. They're like very hot. It's like a summer topwater fish. Another island fish. And we get to weigh another one. Looking like a bladed jig day. 2.5 right here. We got 231. Probably another little male. Checking stuff out. I think again that one was on the fall, or maybe the first couple of cranks. None of these bites have been like midway or towards the end of my retrieve. Like everything's been within the first 2 or 3 seconds after my bait lands. And that fish is right there. You can see right there. That is, you know, same as the other spots. 1.5 feet. On a high tide too. This spot will be out of the water on low tide. So what have I learned today? With 3 bites you can start to narrow down your bait selection and where you're fishing if there's a little bit of a pattern. It seems like there's a little pattern. Islands in the middle of the slough, in the middle of the channel. Up shallow, bladed jig. I mean, I'm sure I could throw like a weightless worm or a drop shot or a flipping jig and get these same fish to bite. I think, I don't know. It's a fun way to fish though. Definitely a fun way to fish. I was watching Bassmaster live this past weekend on Sunday. I don't really tune into a lot of live events, but I was watching it on Sunday because it was kind of exciting with so many people being close to winning that tournament. It was in Florida. I think it was Harris Chain of Lakes. I'm not sure exactly, but it was fun to watch them all fish because they were all fishing like shallow, power fishing, punching, jigs. Actually, a few of them were jerk baiting. Just kind of a cool way to watch folks fish, especially the pros. And that like definitely sparked the itch to get back out on the Delta too. I know the Delta's not Florida, but there's definitely some similarities, and the way you fish it is pretty similar. Shallow power fishing. We're probably 2 months behind Florida as far as the spawn goes, but still just fun to come out here and fish shallow. I love it. Go under the bridge, what? Wow. Yeah. Holy crap, I bring a lot of rods. Jeez. big one. Up shallow. Come on, baby. Come here. There we go. There's a delta bass. Ooh, buddy. Same deal. Island shallow toolies. Not a giant, but that one's, whoa. Definitely gonna help our cause. Man, look how thick that fish is. Just a really healthy fish. There's 425. Thank you, sir. What's that, 3? I mean, getting bites. Getting bites just takes a lot of casts. Takes a minute to find them. They're being predictable though, at least. There, that's like where I lost that one earlier. I wonder if it's the same fish. I don't know. I don't think so. This one's smaller. Man, cool. Another bite. A pattern going on. I like patterns. That's the same spot where I lost that one earlier. Man, we might actually fill out a limit today. That hasn't happened in a while on the Delta for me. 2-pounder. Thank you, buddy. It's so funny, that same cast up in the islands. That was the first bite that bit halfway back, but I kind of feel like the fish was already there and I just rolled the bait over it. When you put this by a fish today, they're gonna bite it. So it seems. Alrighty guys, we are out of here. Just about 5 o'clock, wrapped up the day. You know, not a bad day. Not a bad day. I can definitely say the fishing is improving. The bite is getting better out there compared to the last 2 trips we had, or the 2 days for the tournament. 5 fish in 16 hours. Today we had 4 fish, 5 bites in probably about 7 hours. So mathematically, the bite seems to be getting better. Same bait as last time too, or at least the last day we caught fish on the Delta. The old slobberknocker seemed to be the bait of choice today, and really had a little bit of a pattern going on. As always, out here on the Delta, you never know what they're going to be doing. You always can have an idea as to what they'll be biting, where they'll position. And I tried everything from the bank, behind docks, riprap, flats, but it seemed to be all the fish that I was able to catch today were on flooded islands, or the islands out in the middle. Nothing on the bank. Everything had to be out in the middle, and everything was real shallow too. I'd say less than 2 foot for all of our fish. I mean, we had a really high tide for most of the day today, so it allowed a lot of those fish to get into those areas. But it seemed to be that every bite I had was on those flooded islands, throwing that slobberknocker. And really the odd thing was, within the first few seconds for all my bites today, that's when we'd get bit. We'd throw that slobberknocker out, let it fall for about a second or two, and the first couple of cranks, and we'd get bit. One would have it. So to me, that tells me that the fish were obviously up there shallow, maybe scoping things out, and I think it was more of a reaction strike. The bite was definitely still tough, and I'm not even sure if it was tough. I just don't think there was a ton of fish up in those areas that I was getting my bites. But it was promising. It was definitely promising. It shows that there's some fish moving on up, starting to munch. Yeah, kind of what I expected. I didn't think we'd knock it out of the park today. I didn't think it'd be some epic bite. Still kind of funky though. Still kind of funky. I mean, they're still pretty picky, at least for me. I mean, I tried a lot of stuff today. I cranked, I threw the spinnerbait, threw the jerk bait, punched, I threw the jig, threw finesse, a lot of different baits, nothing. The thing for me, what really keeps me coming back to the Delta, and I don't want to say enduring these tough trips, or, you know, few fish trips, is I kind of know that I'm only probably going to get 4 to 8 bites throughout the entire day, maybe less. But just the way I like to fish the Delta, you know, you're up shallow, you're power fishing, You feel like you're in a jungle half the time. To me, that keeps me going. That makes me excited to continually fish the Delta, even though you might average only a bite every hour or so. To me, that's still a lot of fun and what keeps me coming back. Did say we're gonna weigh our best 5 today. Only got 4 that we put on the scales, but on average, they were decent fish. I think we had about 10 pounds even for 4 fish. Big fish being over 4. Biggest fish on the Delta I've caught all year. So definitely some fun. And yeah, as I mentioned, I'm gonna make this a multi-day video. Tell you what, I think I'm gonna wait a few days, let that water warm up, maybe a few more degrees, and we'll come back out here. We'll try somewhere different. Probably pick an area where there's a lot of islands, a lot of toolies, try to fish it on a higher tide, and see if we can replicate the bladed jig bite from today. Maybe expand on it a little bit more too. Yeah, solid day today. I guess I'll see you guys in about a couple seconds. Good morning, guys. We're back about 40 hours later, back on the Delta, launched at a different location, Tower Park, this morning. A little earlier, it's 8 o'clock, but take a look at the water temp, or the air temp, 42. It is chilly. I've got the full bibs on, the puffy jacket, the boots, the whole ensemble, but we will warm up by 1, 2 o'clock. Water temp here is 53-ish, so not much of an increase. Maybe I should have waited a few more days before coming back out again. Maybe a week, I don't know, but either way, we're here. It's gonna be another gorgeous day out on the California Delta, the mystery that it is. See if we can expand on our pattern. I picked this area because it's got a lot of islands that we'll eventually run into. I'm excited though. These are actually 2 locations this time of year I've never fished, so kind of feels like a new day, new adventure of fishing out on the Delta for me. We'll see if it pays off. Well, you know we gotta start with the old slobber knock. That's real shallow. I don't know if you can fish too shallow right now on the Delta, or any time of year for that matter. Look at that dang swan. Same thing he was doing to me. Man, tide is low right now. I knew this. Probably could have waited a few more hours to get out here. Could have slept in a little longer. Waited for that water to rise, that air temp to warm up. Oh well, they're on the water still. Oh boy. Well, 10:18, guys. I hate to say this, but this is one of the drawbacks with kayak fishing, is when you launch on a place like the Delta especially, and it's not happening or you're not feeling it, you kind of are already committed. You made the drive, you launched your kayak, you made the run, and now you're stuck there in a way. I mean, I could make the 45-minute haul back to the ramp, load up, drive somewhere else for an hour, get to another ramp, take 30 minutes to prep, make an hour run or whatever long run to a spot, and by the time I know it, it'll probably be like 3 o'clock and we'll only have 2 hours to fish. And who's to say it's even better? But it's tough for me to say this, but I do not like anything that I've seen so far in this area. This area just looks absolutely dead. I mean, water temp is 56 here, but it is pretty dirty water. This low tide, grass mats just don't look right. They're not sparse, they're all clumpy and got a bunch of algae on them. I haven't even seen a fish shallow. Everything to me just screams, yeah, there is not going to be a fish caught in this stuff today. Alright. Man, I was really thinking we were going to skunk today. Same deal as last time we were out though. Thule Island, up shallow, bladed jig. I actually ran all the way back towards the ramp just because I had no confidence in that area over there. Just, I don't know. Like I said, it looked so dead. Everything just looked bad. This is one of the few little islands over in this section that I can, it's something I'm looking for, or matches the pattern from last time. There's not many of them. I just want to feel the boink. Skipping a jig up there. Alrighty. I got a little confidence now. Easy there, flipper. Okay, you were supposed to be like a 6-pounder on a beefy jig. I mean, I will take the bite all day long, but you know, that jig was, that's made for the bigs. I guess the little ones will eat it too. That one wouldn't have weighed, but I forgot to weigh the other one. Tell you what, we'll call that other one a pound. I know it was more than a pound, but we'll just call it a pound. Be conservative. They're up in the stuff. Aren't you guys? Aren't you guys? Alright, I think I know what zone I need to fish, at the very least. 182. That does not seem like a 182. I'll take you. I got 2 left. Way up there. I mean, how shallow is that fish? There might be a little depression up there where it gets slightly deeper, but it's definitely no more than a foot. I know that. Thank you, sir. A little buck bass. That's cool. He's a keeper. He's a keeper. Yeah. Well, we've certainly turned this day around. Probably just time of day, area, and tide. Well, that's a lot of factors actually, but cool. Fun way to catch them. Fun way to catch them. It's a good little bait for what I'm doing here. It's like punching, but not really punching. It's just punch rig, fishing it like a Texas rig, getting through some of these tule mats, the broken down tule mats. The bait of choice today because you can see how thin that bait is. Falls through that real nice. Doesn't have giant pinchers or flappers that are gonna get hung up on these tules. So it really does slide in between there real nice. Alright guys, a little after 1 o'clock. This little island's been good to me. Had all 4 of our bites off of it in that like 45-minute period of time. But I tell you what, to finish up our day, we're actually gonna make our way back towards the ramp, past it actually, going the other direction we didn't go this morning, and there's an island very similar to this, a couple minutes down the way. So yeah, we'll take a look at that. Tide tire, of course. We'll see what we can do over there. Luckily, seemed to have turned this day around slightly from what was a really rough start. jig. Here's a nice delta meat chunk. A little skipping jig with a crud craw. Man, that's a fun way to get bit. Oh shoot, I forgot to weigh him. Oh, whatever. Well, what's that? 9 fish total? 2 trips? The spot looks like it might be paying off. Already got bit. This is something I can make a few passes through too. I'll really pick this apart. Oh, got another one. Huh. Another solid. Yeah, we're not going to weigh them. Little group of fish right here. I'm telling you though, this is all about tide. That's why it's so important. We come to this spot first thing in the morning when that tide was low. I mean, you couldn't even cast up in there. It's all out of water, or in like no water. So I guess coming here later was the right call. I guess I just got lucky. Maybe it's a good thing I was wasting my time earlier in the area that was unproductive. Man, there's fish back here. Better one. Well, this is fun. That is 3 bites in a very short amount of time. Let's give you a fresh one. Give you a fresh one. Ran out of my green pumpkin crud craws, but these guys, of course, pumpkin green fleck. Doesn't match the jig color, but got that crawfish coloration to it. Good profile. I think profile is more important than color, but I do think this time of year color can matter. Like reds, you know, people always throw red bladed jigs and crankbaits. It's not red, but pumpkin jig trailer. Then we got this skipping jig right here. Had this on purpose, in case we wanted to skip this up into places. I'm not a great skipper of baits by any means, but when you have a jig that's specifically made for skipping, it can make you look like you know how to skip. Isn't it funny how that first bite, that little dink, just kind of randomly throwing the jig where it looked good, that fish gave away the rest of the pattern. That was like the key to unlock the rest of these fish. I mean, who knows? If I hadn't gotten that fish, that bite, maybe I wouldn't even have come here. Maybe I wouldn't have been throwing the jig. Would have kept throwing the bladed jig or the Senko or drop shot up here. Or in these areas, one little clue sometimes you need to really get you dialed. I'm not saying that jig bites on everywhere in the delta, but this little pocket for sure, where there's a bunch of overhanging trees on a high tide, it's a good bait to throw in here. Well, we've doubled our score, or doubled our numbers from the other day. That's what, 8? Size went down a little bit, but numbers is always fun. Alrighty guys, that is going to do it for today's day out on the water. Really the last 2 days out on the California Delta. And the question was, is it springtime yet? Which it technically isn't, but is it springtime bass fishing yet on the California Delta? Are these fish a little bit more active? Are they shallow? Are they feeding up? And after 2 days of fishing, including today, I would say yes. I would say it is just starting to become spring bass fishing out on the Delta. The fish are waking up. It should only get better from here. But to quickly recap today's day, our second day out on the water, man, it started pretty tough. Did not look so good. Got here a little bit earlier today, launched. The water was just about the same temperature, 53, 54 degrees. It did warm up at the end of the day, but I made my way up into a very popular slough, White Slough, and historically it's pretty good, especially this time of year. But I'll tell you what, I messed around there for 3-4 hours and I did not see a single thing that I liked. Granted, we were on a low tide. A lot of the stuff that I wanted to fish was out of the water, but still, even seeing some of the stuff that when the water got higher, it's just a lot of grass, algae, just clumps of stuff that I just did not feel like would hold fish, even with a higher tide. So eventually I made my way out of there and came back towards where we launched, obviously without a bite, without a clue at this point. So I started fishing around one of the islands near the launch, picked up the bladed jig, finally got a bite. It's actually the same pattern as we found the other day, fishing an island, bladed jig, up shallow, on a tule clump. That was a promising sign. So I fished that island a little bit more thoroughly. Junk fishing really at this point. Didn't have a pattern or anything going on, of course, so I was still throwing what looked good at the moment, depending on what was in front of me. Did see some trees, some branches dipping into the water. Looked like there was some clean bottom, so picked up the jigs, skipped it up under the tree. Didn't even hit the bottom, got thumped, set the hook. Hey, not a big one, but a fish. Another bite, and way up there too. Way up shallow. Areas that you almost would never throw a bait. That fish right there, in my opinion, set me up for the rest of the day, or the remainder of the day. We figured out they were shallow, and it really was kind of a 1-2 punch between that skipping jig with the crud craw trailer on there, nice meaty profile, and then we also mixed in when there was some matted over tules or just something I couldn't get that jig into, little punch rig setup with the crud craw, and that was fun. That was a lot of fun to catch them like that, getting up shallow, throwing into the thick stuff. No giants, but man, when you pitch into just a big matted broken down tules and you feel that pressure and you set the hook, you just never know what's going to be on the end of your line. So a lot of fun to catch them like that. Caught a few over there, and then I did make one more run to a spot also nearby the launch that was very similar characteristics wise. Sparse tules, should have some good depth with a higher tide, a little bit more protected, and that over there ended up being our little jig section. That skipping jig really put in some work. I mean, I think we had 2 right in a row. Caught me off guard, skipping it way up under a tree, just feeling that thunk, setting the hook back, and man, what a fun bite that is. I haven't had that kind of bite, a shallow jig bite, in a long time, so that certainly felt good. Caught a couple more doing that. Again, no size, but just a fun way to catch them. And really, and more importantly, regarding spring bass fishing on the Delta, all these fish up shallow, probably males. So you know when that happens, when you're catching a lot of small fish up shallow, that probably means that they're thinking about it. Not to say they're going to spawn next week, but they're definitely checking things out, eating up. I definitely call this more of a pre-spawn bite. To me, pre-spawn really is synonymous with spring on the Delta, and when you can catch some of the biggest fish of your life. Fun couple of days out on the Delta. It wasn't easy by any means. We definitely had to work for our bites, cover a lot of water, but it does go to show, if you really want to give yourself a chance to get on some fish on the Delta, no matter where you launch, you got to really put in the time, fish different tides. Right now it seemed to be a higher tide that was much better because we were fishing so shallow. I'm excited to fish the Delta this spring. Hopefully we'll have some really fun days out there. I'm sure we will. That is going to do it for today's video. I know we've kind of been going back and forth between the Delta and Berryessa, Delta Berryessa. I do promise the next video will be a different body of water, and there I definitely want to catch a limit. I do not want to be a no limit soldier. Hint, hint. Anyways, guys, that's the video. As always, I thank you for watching, for coming along, and I'll see you guys in the next one.